A case where the paper itself is more interesting to scientists than the content of the letter. The author of these messages is Dracula. Experts were able to remove a microscopic layer of protein molecules, or so-called peptide fingerprints, of the ruler of Wallachia, Vlad the Impaler. And they found out that the ruler wept bloody tears. Vlad the Impaler suffered from celiopathy, a hereditary pathology that provokes serious diseases of internal organs. Apparently, due to a genetic defect, the aristocrat's blood sometimes ended up in the tear ducts. And now historians are wondering, could a serious illness have traumatized the psyche of the prototype of Count Dracula so much that he became one of the most brutal rulers of his time? On the one hand, such diseases brought physical suffering, pain, fears, anxiety, uncertainty. Well, we now know that you can go to the doctor, ask how to deal with it, ask the doctor, and the doctor somehow supports us psychologically and says that we will treat it here. Well, in the 15th century, there was nothing like that. And a person, his psyche could live with some fantasies, guesses that I am different. Today, the very word Dracula is associated exclusively with blood-sucking, bats, and other attributes of vampires, thanks to the Irish writer Bram Stoker. But in fact, it is formed from the Latin root Draco, that is, dragon. And the ruler of Wallachia received such a nickname as a legacy from his father. His father, Vlad II, was also the ruler of Wallachia, that is, the ruler of Wallachia. He became famous thanks to the fact that he was a member of the so-called Order of the Dragon. The Order of the Dragon is a knightly organization to fight the Turks, because it was at that time that the Ottoman Empire began to actively penetrate the Balkans. And, in fact, the entire 15th century, the history of the Balkan Peninsula specifically, is the history of simply uninterrupted wars. This is a very bloody and difficult history. So Dracula is the family name of Vlad III, and Czepesh is a folk nickname. In a free translation from Romanian, it means impaler, because the ruler simply adored sophisticated torture and executions. According to legend, a boyar asked him, "My lord, can we go out into the street to talk there because the air is cleaner there?" Dracula replied, "If you want the air to be cleaner, I'll just put you somewhere higher, where the air doesn't seem to settle so much." Well, and ordered him also impaled, because there the distance from the ground will indeed be higher. Some historians believe that the atrocities of Czepesh are greatly exaggerated, and such executions, rather, are indicative. Others have no doubt. During his reign, Vlad III impaled several thousands of his subjects who were somehow displeased with him, and just as many captured Turks. In any case, the Lord really seemed to be obsessed with torture and reveled in the suffering of others. Vlad had to see a lot of cruelty in his life. At the age of 11, he was captured by the Ottoman Empire as a hostage. And 11 years is such an immature age. And surely he was terribly scared. And he witnessed cruel treatment, possibly of other prisoners. His father was killed. In those days, it was customary, and according to his status, it was also important to take revenge. And all this accumulated, unexpressed, sooner or later finds its expression somewhere. However, there are also records in the chronicles of the good deeds of the bloodthirsty ruler. In particular, there is a legend that in the year 1471, Vlad III was fleeing from Turkish pursuit, and near the Romanian village of Comana, he was sheltered by local monks. In gratitude, the ruler founded an entire monastery here, and generously sponsored it. However, the abode did not last long under the patronage of Czepesh. 5 years later he died. How exactly, historians are still arguing today. The historical circumstances led to the fact that at some point he was left alone with the Ottoman Empire. Moreover, alone with the claimant to his Wallachian throne. This man was called Laiota Basarab, and Basarab began to attack him. Moreover, Basarab was obviously supported by the Turks, and it was in the war against him that Dracula was killed. However, historians are puzzled by the fact that neither the exact date nor the place of Cepesh's death are indicated in any document. Specialists suggest that the Impalers decided to kill the high-ranking approximates, whom Dracula destroyed with his cruelty. Perhaps they sent a bribed servant to the ruler, and he stabbed the ruler right on the territory of the same Kamana monastery. He was not just killed, but his head was cut off, after which the waters turned red, not only near the place of his murder, but in general, all wells, springs. The water became unfit for drinking. And the monks, in order to atone for Dracula's crime before the people, remembering that once Dracula had done them good, he helped found this Kamana monastery. They dug a new well, a large well, which became the main well for supplying the surrounding villages. And in this well, there was always clean water. As for the bloody well, of course, scientists do not believe that it was desecrated by Dracula's curse. Either this is another literally colorful legend about the ruler, or the water turned red for natural reasons. For example, Chlamydomonas nivalis, a very common single-celled alga, got into the well. Its chromatophore contains the pigment astaxanthin, a red pigment. This pigment is found in brown algae, or, for example, in the shell of shrimp or crustaceans, which gives them such a red color when we boil them. And it is because of this microorganism, because of this alga, that staining may occur in unnatural colors. And if Dracula was indeed killed right in the canonical monastery, then most likely he was buried there too. At least, the Romanian historian Adrian Gheorghe has no doubt about this. He has been researching all his life the mystery of the death of Vlad the Impaler. The scientist found this photograph in the archives. The photograph was taken in the 70s during archaeological excavations on the territory of the abode. Researchers discovered an unknown grave where the monastery church once stood. This burial is located in the southern nave, that is, in the central part of the church, on the right side, if looking from the entrance. Usually, it is in this place that the founder of the monastery should be buried, which was Vlad the Impaler. I think that the monks insisted on honoring the memory of the man who did so much for them, and persuaded them to hand over the body of the deceased ruler to them. The official burial place of Dracula is considered to be Snagov Monastery, 40 kilometers north of Bucharest. However, archaeologists who were allowed to investigate the grave found only horse bones under Kepes's tombstone. Historians believe that the ruler's burial could have been desecrated by his numerous enemies. But the people, as it often happens, had a completely different version. Legends persistently say that he had two graves. Here the goals were mystical, associated with the personality of Dracula, who could sanctify even after death. And accordingly, his body, like the body, let's say, of a vampire, as it was before, according to folk legends, including those of the same Balkans, the body of the alleged vampire was simply divided into parts and stored in different places. There is a high probability that at least half of Vlad III's body is indeed buried in the canonical monastery. Specialists still have to establish this. Now the abode is under long-term restoration, and, unfortunately for historians, the masters decided to destroy this ancient fresco with an image of the founder, although there are literally a few such portraits of Kepes. Thanks to them, scientists at least roughly imagine what one of the most controversial rulers looked like medieval Europe. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out a lot. And please leave a comment below. I read every single one, and your feedback means the world to me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.